Welcome, everyone. Anonymity and safety are vital in our meetings. Security tools help protect us from disruptions, harassment, and misuse of the chat. By using them wisely, we make sure everyone has a safe space to share and recover. In this video, we'll walk through the key Zoom features that keep our meetings safe and respectful. We'll cover how to use the chat, how to enter the host key, and how to use security features, both on desktop and mobile devices. Let's jump right in. If you're set to host a Zoom meeting, you'll find you don't automatically have host privileges. However, you can claim them with a host key. This is important because without the host key, you don't have access to our security tools. Claiming host ensures someone can always lock the meeting, manage the waiting room, and handle any disruptions that may occur. To do this on desktop, simply move your cursor to the Participants button located on the main toolbar at the bottom of your screen. Clicking this opens a new window with a participants list. You'll find the Claim Host button at the bottom right of this pop-up. Click this and simply enter the 6-digit code that is provided to you by your group. Once you've entered this, you can click Claim Host or simply press Enter. To do this on mobile, by accessing the More menu, you can locate this by scrolling to the left at the bottom of your screen on the main toolbar. The More button looks like 3 small dots. Tap Claim Host. Enter the host key to unlock your host controls. Once you've claimed host, a button called Host Tools appears in the middle of your toolbar here. This gives you quick access to safety features. We recommend all chairpersons assign a co-host to assist and take over if the host gets disconnected for any reason. Before we discuss in detail the host tools that are offered, first we should probably take a look at the chat feature, as you may need to use that in conjunction with your host tools if any sort of disruptions were to occur. We can close the participants window unless we're actively using it. Misuse of chat can include inappropriate private messages, unsolicited advice, crosstalk, or distracting side conversations. By limiting chat when disruptions occur, we protect members from being targeted privately and keep the group's focus on recovery. Now that we have our host controls enabled, let's take a look at what things might look like in a real-world scenario with another participant in our meeting. To access the chat on desktop, simply click the chat button at the bottom of the screen on the toolbar just to the right of the participants button we used a few minutes ago. You'll see the chat panel opens on the right. You'll also see options for everyone and a plus sign to start private messages. It's important to understand the distinction between the two. When we have everyone active, you'll notice it's highlighted in blue, and the text underneath is also blue. Anything we send, when that is highlighted, will be seen by everyone in the meeting. In order to send a private message, we'll use the new chat function. To do this, click the plus sign. You'll see there is a search bar here, as well as our participant showing up in our list. Clicking that, we now know who is this going to go to. If there is need to send this to multiple participants, choose all of them, and once they are listed in the To box, simply enter your message. And you'll see now you have a second box here labeled Participant. Again, you'll notice it is highlighted in blue, so we know that's active. To do this on mobile, simply tap Chat, which you can find at the bottom of your screen on your main toolbar. You'll notice if you tap this, you will get a sliding window. However, you may not see the same options that we had on our desktop. To access these options, tap the down arrow located in the top right of the sliding screen. Once you've done so, you should see something that says Everyone or Main Chat and New Chat. This works similarly to what I just described for the desktop method. Anything sent to the main chat will be seen by everyone in the meeting. To start a private message, tap New Chat or whatever your particular alternative option is. That should open up a new window. Choose the participant you would like to send a message to. For my phone's operating system, I would then tap OK, located in the top right corner of this window. I can now see a private message thread started with the host. Unread messages will appear as a red dot on the chat button. You can also enable or disable message previews if you'd like. To do this on desktop, find the up arrow in the corner of the chat button. Click this and you can toggle your message previews on or off. This can be very handy to see who and what is being sent, to know if you need to check your chat messages right away. On mobile, tap the bell icon located next to the down arrow in the chat window we were just using. If your notifications are enabled, it will be a bell. If they are disabled, the bell will have a diagonal line through it. Simply unmute or mute as you desire. Okay, moving on to our host tools. First, let's assign a co-host. To do this on desktop, the easiest method is to right-click on a participant's video tile, like so, and select Make Co-host, which you can find here. Alternatively, we can access the participants window as we did earlier, find the participant, and look for those three small dots on the right-hand side. Click this, and you'll find a similar menu. You can make them co-host from here. I find, however, that the most efficient method is the one described earlier, in which we just right-click on the video frame. To do this on mobile, tap Participants as we did before. In the list, tap the member's name, and in the menu, select Make Co-host. Let's make this assignment now. Confirm our selection. Once we've assigned a co-host, both host and co-host will see a button on the bottom bar on both desktop and mobile called Host Tools. Let's review the key tools found here. Remove participant. This removes a disruptive or unsafe participant from the meeting. They are unable to rejoin if the waiting room is enabled. If it is not, they can rejoin at any time. Why this matters? It's essential for handling harassment or ongoing disruptive behavior. We also have an option here to suspend participant activities. This controls whether or not participants can share their screens, rename themselves, use the chat, unmute, or use their video. It also shuts down any breakout rooms that may be in use, and any Zoom apps such as the timer are now disabled. This is very important because it prevents interruptions, offensive display names, or members taking over the meeting. At the top of this menu, we have an option to lock the meeting. This simply stops anyone who is not currently in the meeting from joining. This protects against Zoom bombing, when uninvited strangers crash meetings with offensive content and generally disrupt the whole darn thing. We can also from here enable the waiting room. This will place anyone trying to enter the meeting in a holding space until we manually admit them. This will allow screening of participants to keep out uninvited or repeated disruptors. We can also hide profile pictures. This may be something that is useful in the case of Zoom bombing or someone who has an offensive profile picture and is unable or unwilling to change it. There are also various options listed here. Enabling or disabling these allows members to use the chat, rename themselves, unmute themselves, start their video, share documents, share whiteboards, which we rarely do in our meetings, share notes, collaborate with Zoom apps, share real-time meeting content with apps, set meeting timers, and that's kind of an important one for our meetings who use those timers for people's shares. We can also request host to start cloud recording. We typically do not use this feature for our meetings. On a phone or tablet, you can find those security tools by accessing the More menu. You can locate this by scrolling to the left at the bottom of your screen on the main toolbar. The More button looks like 3 small dots, and it is located all the way to the right-hand side. Tap that and you'll find Host Tools at the top of the menu. You'll see many of the same options listed here, such as Lock Meeting, Waiting Room, Hide All Profile Pictures, Share Screen, Chat Options. Here you are able to define who can chat with whom. That basically means participants can chat with each other or only with the meeting hosts. We also have the rename, unmute, start video, share whiteboards, and share notes options. At the bottom, you can find the nuclear option of suspending participant activities. This is important because security isn't just for desktop hosts. Mobile hosts and co-hosts can use these tools as well to keep our meetings safe even if the main host drops off. You may be wondering when and how it's appropriate to use these tools. So let me give you some examples. It's a very common occurrence in meetings that members can get a little confused about how to manage their mute settings. Typically when this happens, all that's needed is a host or co-host to assist them in muting when they're not sharing. To do this on desktop, we can right-click their tile or navigate to the participants pane as we did before. I'll have to revoke this participant's co-host permissions, however, for the purpose of this demonstration, because we do not have the same host controls for the co-host as we do general participants. In order to do this, we simply choose the Revoke Co-host Permissions option. In order to do this, we would simply right-click on their pane and choose the mute option as follows. You can see now the participant is muted. To do this on mobile, tap Participants, find the member in the list, tap them, and choose Mute. Often, muting is all that's needed. Another example might be if someone is using an offensive or incorrect display name. Sometimes they may not know it's offensive, sometimes they may, and sometimes they just don't know how to change it and might ask you to help them. On desktop, we can do this by right-clicking their tile or their name in the Participants panel and choosing Rename. This will bring up a window where we can type in something different. On mobile, tap their name in the Participants list and choose Rename. We have had issues on occasion in our meetings where a member was receiving inappropriate private messages. If this happens, first, send a private warning reminding the offending party of our group guidelines. If the behavior continues, or if there is a serious threat like harassment or threats of physical harm, we may need to remove the member. In order to do this, we would send another message to the offending party and let them know that they will be removed from the meeting and why we are taking that action. To remove the party, right-click on their tile and choose the Remove option. Alternatively, you can click on Host Tools at the bottom of the screen and use the Remove Participant option here. If we use it from the Host Tools, it'll open up a window to the right. And to remove the participant, we would click the red text Remove. To do this by right-clicking the frame, it will skip that window and simply bring up a window that asks you to confirm. It's up to you whether or not to report the incident to Zoom. You can toggle that option on and off using this box. If we're removing the participant because of serious threats or sexual harassment, for example, we encourage the affected member to take screenshots of the communication. These should be shared with the chair or co-host and also reported to Zoom. On desktop, if we right-click their tile and select Report, we can report without removing the person, but generally speaking, we will have removed them. So once we click this red Remove button, it would bring up another window to describe the incident and report to Zoom. That's something we may cover in another video, but we won't be going over that right now. To remove a participant on mobile, go to the Participants button, choose the participant from the list, and in the menu, choose Remove. Last but not least, Zoom bombing. This is a situation where one or more people are unmuting, turning on their videos, and basically broadcasting offensive or obscene content. This is something that the host or co-host would want to deal with quickly. So in this case, we would be using the Suspend Participant Activities option. Again, we can find that under the Host Tools. If we click this option, it will disable the chat. No one will be able to unmute. Video will not be able to be used. Screen sharing, apps, and breakout rooms will be inaccessible. Again, we will have the option to report this incident to Zoom. You can choose whether or not you would like to do that immediately or later. Sometimes we just need to get everything shut down first. If you'd like to deal with it later, uncheck the report box and click the red Suspend button. In order to do this on mobile, you'll access those host tools using the More button at the far right of your toolbar. Go to Host Tools and select Suspend Activity. If this is an option that you must use, this is what we suggest that you do. Announce calmly to the group what's happening and what you plan to do next. So as an example, you might say, "We are experiencing a disruption. I've suspended participant activity. I will now remove everyone and readmit you through the waiting room. Please be ready to turn on your video and introduce yourself briefly so we can ensure the disruptors do not return. We thank you so much for your patience." At this juncture, you'll notice that the waiting room is enabled. Leave this option active for the remainder of the meeting. Remove all participants using the process described earlier. The fastest way to do this may be to simply use the participants window. Click the three small dots and remove. Ensure that you do not have the blue Report to Zoom box checked unless you are absolutely certain who the disrupting party is. Once all participants except hosts and co-hosts have been removed, you want to adjust your settings a bit. In the host tools, you want to disable lock meeting so that people can re-enter the meeting. Ensure the waiting room is enabled. Re-enable unmuting and starting video. This will ensure that anyone being readmitted can go through the process of introducing themselves. Readmit members one by one, asking them to briefly show video and introduce themselves. And as a reminder, keep the waiting room on for the rest of the meeting. I'm just going to go through the process quickly so that you can see what it might look like. I'm going to remove this participant, remembering not to report them to Zoom. Since our waiting room is enabled, no one will automatically appear in the meeting. You can now see any members who are attempting to log back into the meeting in the participants list. To readmit them, you'll click the blue Admit button to the right-hand side. To do this on mobile, you would access the Participants window, tap the participant you'd like to admit, and choose Admit from the menu. As a reminder, readmit participants one by one, asking them to briefly turn on their video and unmute to introduce themselves before admitting the next person. Once you have readmitted anyone waiting in the waiting room, you may resume the meeting. And remember, keep the waiting room enabled for the remainder of the meeting. If anyone who was not in the meeting prior to having to remove all participants tries to log in, they will encounter the waiting room. It may be useful to wait to admit them until a quiet moment between shares or during a time during your chairing that you can interrupt the meeting momentarily to gently explain to them that we're asking all members logging in for the evening to introduce themselves using video as we experience a disruption. Let them know that they are welcome to turn their video off once they've done so, and thank them for their understanding. Here are a few guidelines that help us avoid having to use these nuclear options in our meetings. We only share the Zoom ID or link with trusted members or new members who've gotten in touch with one of our meeting contacts. We do not post any of that information publicly. That includes our scripts. So please always check your scripts before uploading to ensure that no identifying, personal, or account information is available there. Please contact our Zoom admin if disruptions keep happening. We can only help if we know what's going on in meetings, and we really do want to help you keep everyone safe. And as mentioned earlier, always try to have at least one co-host available to help. This eases the pressure that some people may feel when they consider chairing, because they know they'll have someone behind them to help if they need it. These practices protect anonymity and prevent strangers from accessing our meeting space. I thank you for taking time to watch this video today. I know it's dry material. And thank you for doing your part to keep our meetings safe and welcoming. Together, we protect the traditions of our fellowship and ensure everyone has a secure space to share and recover. If you have any questions or concerns, please feel free to reach out to our Zoom admin using the email address that will be provided to you by WSO upon request. Good 24, everyone.